welcome to the 122nd episode of Nerdom and Other Nonsense Anime Podcast. Today we are covering shows that aired during week 6 of the winter 2020 season. We're midway through the season, which means it's time to check in on some other shows at the end of the podcast and make any mid-season cuts. As always, we include timestamps in the description of the YouTube video and podcast feed if you only want to hear about one or two specific shows, since we spoil literally everything every time. My name is Leo, and I'm dropping out of the race for president of Chihayafuru haters and throwing all my support behind Kat. I'm with her. Also with me are Leo and Bcom. Kat and Bcom. God damn it.
I'm with her.
I will be the president. It'll be wonderful. Oh my God. Yes. I'm so excited.
Oh my God.
Oh, I would love it.
Jesus Christ.
I thought that was timely since so many people are dropping out of the presidential race right now. We're recording this on March 2nd, the day before Super Tuesday, so we don't know what's going to happen, but yeah, it's chaos right now. So I'm interested to see what happens the next couple days.
At least somebody on this podcast is following it.
Yeah. All right, let's get into nonsense. Leo, what have you been doing?
Still playing No Man's Sky. It still needs some work done. I've had 2 crashes on me, which sucks because then I'll lose like 5 to 10 minutes of gameplay and gotta do everything fucking over again. And it happens both times I try to do a fast travel.
Oh,
both times
okay.
it's crashed on me. So
That's interesting.
yeah, one time I had done like some improvements to my base, and like that was like a solid 5 minutes of like making serious choices, and then lost it all. And I was like, ugh.
Yeah, sometimes when that happens, I'll quit a game and never go back.
I think that was the first or second one, but that happened, and I was just like, I'll fucking rebuild it tomorrow. I just turned the game off. I was like,
exactly.
I'm
like,
done for the day. It'll fucking kill your mood so bad.
That's too bad.
Yeah, other than that, super fun. I just got
Did you
done
figure out a
watching
way to make a shit ton of money in that game?
Yeah, I just got done watching a video on how to flood the markets and make a shit ton of money.
Interesting.
So that's probably what I'm going to do tomorrow, maybe.
So you're basically, I like what it sounded like is you were going around and flooding third world economies and then destroying their economy and moving on to the next place. Very American way of doing
It's exactly what you're doing. So that like you go to 1-star system, you buy all their.
Leo's like, yes, exactly.
That's exactly what you do. You buy all of this one material from the first place, so that you're out like 500,000. You go to the second place, you sell all that material, which stacks up on what they have, so there's a less of a demand, so the price drops. And say you even sold that one for 400,000, so you're actually out 100,000 at the moment. But then you buy all that back, and that only costs 450,000. And then when you get to the third place and you flood that market, you sell it all for like 600,000 if you go to like a higher tier market, and then you buy it all back for like 300,000. And you just every time you hop to one system to another, that margin just gets bigger and bigger and bigger until you're selling for like 5 million and you're buying it all back for like 500,000.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
A little bit game breaking, but it makes sense economically, I guess.
And that is not a glitch. That is how the game is set up.
Yeah, for sure. So I watched Girls und Panzer das Finale movie 2, which is kind of weird. They're making 6 of these Girls und Panzer finale movies, since this is the second one continuing on from the first. And it's like an hour long, and I thought it was pretty fun, actually. It's not like the best Girls und Panzer thing I've seen, but it had some really good tank battles, except towards like the end of the film, like where there was some tank shit that went down that just did not make sense. Like the girls were like all surrounded and they just like miraculously get out of that for no like real reason. And there's just some stupid shit that happens near the end, but like as usual with Girls und Panzer, you have like the different tank teams that like basically represent different countries. Like in the beginning of this one, they're fighting like the French girls and their leader is like Marie Antoinette. She's like eating cake the entire time. It's really goofy and fun, and like they sing stupid like French traditional songs about onions. So like it's very Girls und Panzer. It was a good time. I would recommend checking it out.
Very cool, very cool. Would you like to tell you about my weekend?
Sure.
Yeah.
All right.
You didn't die in a horrific garage door accident, did you?
So this has happened once before, about 4 months ago, and I thought I'd fixed it. Basically, my garage door stopped going up and down, and I was like, "The fuck?" But before, when it stopped, it was open, so that was fine. Well, okay.
And the only way to get into this garage is from a keypad on the outside, right?
Yes, because it is a freestanding garage because I have a condo, so you can't get into it from the house. You have to get into it from the outside. So, well, actually, before I'd started to notice it had issues, but I was able to get it up one more time, so it wasn't a big deal.
That's what she said.
This time it was shut, and I went to go get something out of it. Oh fuck, it's not going back up. Oh shit. So first I called a garage door expert guy. They're supposed to come out. They're supposed to be able to fix anything on your garage, right? Comes out, have this appointment on Sunday. He's like, he messes around with it for a while. He's like, I can't get in, man. I don't know what to tell you. Sorry about that. The thing is broken. I can't get into your door without breaking your door. I don't know. I mean, I'm sorry. And didn't charge me and just left. And I was like, what the fuck?
Well, good thing we put off the podcast because that would have been we've been sitting around doing nothing.
I know. And then so then he recommended that I call a locksmith specialist because you know the lock on the front of your door?
Yeah.
So they were like, "Oh yeah, no, call them. They'll be able to get that lock done." Cuz I don't have the key to that. When I bought this house, I didn't get one, and I didn't really think that was a problem until, of course, I fucking needed it.
Now it is. Yeah.
No, it's a problem.
Usually, people leave it in a drawer or something. Did you ever find a key in a drawer? Or no?
I don't think so. I don't know. But anyway.
Ooh, I should teach you how to pick. Actually, that's not a good idea. You do not need to know how to pick locks.
Wait till you hear the rest of the story. So we call a bunch of locksmiths. All of them are like, no, that's a specialty thing. We don't do garage door locks. Da 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 da. You should call a garage door specialist.
A garage door lock is no different than the lock on your front door.
And also, I just had a garage door specialist over, so I'm frustrated and angry. And my boyfriend has actually never seen me really pissed. Actually angry. Doesn't happen that often. And he was like, this is new. Oh, okay. So eventually we just go out there. I put a stool next to the garage door, and I essentially break into my own garage. So, so I
wait, what'd the stool do?
So it gets you to the top of the garage door. Then you can bend the top part that connects to the wall at the top in, but you can't bend it in too far or you'll break it. And then you have to wedge something in there. So you've created a hole, right? And then you got to find some sort of tool that is long enough and that has a hook on the end for you to fish around up there with a flashlight until you can find the little release.
Oh, release.
And then you pull it, and then you can pull the thing up. So I essentially broke into my own garage door this weekend. Ha ha!
Congrats.
I feel pretty accomplished. Also, I'm like, what the fuck, garage door specialist? You couldn't do this?
Well, they don't want to break your door, probably.
Yeah, they'd be
I guess.
destroying your property, so that's a no-go.
I don't know, but I did get it open. I was able to get my car out of there eventually. Still have to now fix the garage door because it's still not going back up and down. But at least I got all my shit out of it. So I'm happy for now. So
is the motor making any noise when you try to engage it or anything?
It's really just that the receivers have all been nullified. It's not receiving the signals.
Oh, garage door are really easy to connect to a remote. There's literally just a button on the back you have to press.
I know, and it says to push the thing, and then you push the button.
And I was getting ready to say, mine even has the instructions
I know,
on it.
and I've read the instructions, and I've done the fucking thing it says to do 20 times. This is not working. I'm going to mess with it. I'll figure it out. The important thing is...
Are you sure your garage door button... Isn't there a wall button you can press to make sure it's just fucking working?
The wall button works, so I know it's not that. So it's just the receiver.
I would replace your remote first.
Well, I am going to, but okay, the Step 1, get into the fucking garage. I've accomplished this. Okay.
Step 2, get
Step
a new
2,
garage door remote.
Fix the garage door remote. That I will do that. But this just happened yesterday. I'm just happy that I actually had my fucking car today because holy shit, I almost didn't have my car. Oh, I was so pissed. Especially because this has happened twice now. Also, I went to this very fancy restaurant this weekend before all this happened. Okay, it's not very fancy. It's called Milktooth. And I'd heard a lot of good things about it from my friends. And so I was like, sure, I'll go. Got there. It was like, holy shit, why is this place so busy? I learned later it was on the Food Network. And so everyone wants to be there.
Was Guy Fieri there? I want to try some milk teeth, bruh.
Yeah. And my boyfriend, the first thing he does is he's lactose intolerant. And like all the stuff on the menu has cheese or milk. And so he's like, can I substitute without the cheese or whatever? And they'd be like, we don't do substitutions on any of our items in our restaurant.
This is Indiana, motherfucker.
No, I think it was more of like a fancy, like, we're too fancy to substitute things for you type of thing.
That's so dumb. What the fuck? They could easily have like lactose-free milk in there or something for like the customer that comes in, or like soy milk.
It is called Milktooth.
Yeah, I mean, there's almond milk, there's soy milk.
Yeah, like, and plus, I mean, come on, if you're paying for an item on the menu and your
like
customer is like, hey, please, I don't want to like, get sick all night. Can you please just not put the cheese on it? Like, I feel like that's a reasonable request.
Very reasonable. I will die if I eat this cheese.
Yeah,
no, you must eat the cheese, monsieur. Get the fuck out of here if you don't want to eat the cheese.
So he's like bitching the whole time, and I'm like, well, I'm sorry, I didn't know. And it actually was good food though. Like it was overly fancy for what it was, but it was good food. I'll give it that. Cool. So those were my 2 experiences this weekend. It was an interesting weekend. I became a smooth criminal. Let's put it that way.
Yes. All right. Let's get into anime. We got a lot to talk about today, so we'll get through this. First one up is Chihayafuru 3. Episode 18, The Storm Will Soon Carry Me. This is a pretty intense episode because the Master and Queen matches are starting. So they start with like a goofy snapshot though of Shinobu's grandma just like flipping through TV channels because like the old people clearly did not get the memo that this was going to be streamed on the internet, and so they're just like really confused. Like at the very end of the episode, they bookend this with I think it's one of Suo's relatives, like his mom or grandma, trying to watch also on the TV, and they're just both like completely lost. Shinobu is clearly distracted by her grandmother still. At the end of last episode, remember she had that whole thing about how her grandmother gave the kimono to her, but it was as like an advertisement. And so she is like angry at her grandmother. She's angry at Chihaya for focusing on school trips more than trying to become the queen. And so in the first match between them, Haruka takes advantage and is playing really strong. She also reveals in her monologue, like to herself, that she wants to prove that like even somebody with 3 kids can still be in their prime. And she's like rubbing her like belly when she says this. So like, yeah, she's pregnant with a 3rd fucking kid while she's playing this match, which is pretty nuts. So Shinobu loses this like second match to Haruka. She thinks to herself that her coach since she was a child, Issei's words were all bullshit because he had always told her that Shinobu, the more isolated you are, the better you'll be. And now that she's feeling more isolated from anybody or everyone than she's ever felt before, she's playing like her worst. So she knows that he's been wrong, and that's the wrong way to go about all this. And she's like in such a daze, like she doesn't even remember the cards that were called in the second game or like what card even lost her the game. She's just completely lost right now. Amazingly, Dr. Harada wins his second match. And so with one more loss for either Suo or Shinobu, they'll lose their title because the queens who have won a game each, they're a best of 3 match and the guys are a best of 5. So Harada has won the first two, so if he just wins one more, he's good. So the Masters have a match while like the Queens go like take a break for 2 hours, because it's a matchup like the final games. Basically, you have like the Queens take a break while the guys play their third match. Suo turns up the heat. He gets way more aggressive. The chairman even calls out like, hey, he's actually trying to defend cards. He never does that. And he ends up winning this third match by like a 17 card margin, which is pretty big. But you find out later that Harada was just kind of conserving energy during this match, and he means to make a big like go of it in the fourth match. So yeah, like the big like emotional thing in this episode is Chihaya is like sort of running after Shinobu because she's worried about her. And Shinobu's like praying alone at Omijingu Shrine, like nobody's like talking to her, everybody's like facing away from her. And Chihaya comes up next to her and does like the 2 clap thing and like kind of like wakes Shinobu up and like gets her out of her funk a little bit. And she like symbolically gives her like Snow Maru's scarf to Chihaya. And then she walks down the center like path of the shrine steps, which they have a little flashback to Kana telling Chihaya like in an earlier season when they first got to Omijingu that you're not supposed to walk up or like walk down the middle path. It's reserved only for the gods. And like Shinobu's like, nah, man, I'm a fucking god right now. She's like about to get real serious, which is very cool. And so before the third match, Chihaya also makes some Tasaki to help Shinobu with her stupidly long kimono sleeves. And Shinobu asks her when she's doing this, like when she's putting them on, like, what did you pray for at the shrine? And Chihaya's just like, I prayed for Dr. Harada to play well. Like Shinobu was expecting her to like say like, oh, I'm praying for you to do well, but no. And like, but Shinobu kind of like laughs because she's just so sincere about what she wants. Okay, so Harada, he throws on some spiffy new sweatpants, and he gets like laser focused for the fourth match.
You got to be comfy, man. That helps.
Yeah, and he's got his super knee problems too, so this is, yeah, it's like more cushion that he needs. He's already got like a memory cushion on the floor, and now he's got sweatpants. He's trying his best. And so, yeah, he threw the third match, and so this is the big one. As the matches start, Harada starts out using like a really aggressive strategy. He's moving his own cards around a lot, which kind of breaks like unwritten rules of etiquette, but they allow him to do it because it's not against the rules. He's also sending Suo lots of cards that will confuse him because they're similar to cards that he has on his side that he'd want to take. And he also manages to take like the first 2 cards of the match, which is a big momentum boost for him right out the gate. Shinobu also gets off to a hot start, and Coach Sakurazawa, like she's able to tell from the cards that she's sending to Inokuma. She finally puts it together, basically, that the attachment that Shinobu has to her card, there's the card to cards, the way she thinks about like putting them together or separating them is all based on like the personalities of like the people depicted on the cards, like the authors, the poets, like the people depicted in the poems, whatever the card art is. And you can kind of see them inside Shinobu's head, like bickering back and forth. And she's thinking about how she's putting 2 women together who kind of hate men or have had bad experiences with men and all this stuff. And like, so that's how she's splitting up the cards, which is like kind of a unique way to do it. And that was a fun scene, just seeing them all like talking to each other. Because like she imagines them as like they're her imaginary friends because she's always been alone with these cards. And so her only friends were the damn cards. It's very sad. But that's how she is. Finally, though, near the end, we find out what Chihaya discovered was Suo's weakness. And there was actually a hint at this earlier in the episode when Suo calls home. And they're telling him that, like, oh, we bought this 60-inch TV, but, like, the kid can only see, like, the middle 30 inches of the TV. And you're like, oh, that's weird. What's that about? They're like, they have their hands around the kid's head, like he's got tunnel vision. It turns out, like, that's exactly what Suo has. It's, like, some kind of, like, genetic disposition where he can only see out, like, the center of his vision. He can't see very well in the peripheral vision of his eyes. So Harada thought about that for a while once he heard from Chihaya. Didn't tell anybody else about it. And he's like, all right, the way I can take advantage of this is I can take a lot of the cards that are like supposed to be like on the edges of the mat and send them to him. And so he'll put them at the edges where he won't be able to see them very well. And I'll keep moving cards from the edge to the center and back to the edges constantly to confuse him. So he can't see them because they're at the edge of his vision, and he's constantly trying to like figure out where cards are, and he has to move his head back and forth. And so Harada's basically like, yeah, I'm playing Karata that nobody likes, but he's the best there is, so I have to take advantage of everything. And so, yeah, as the episode ends, in the middle of that match, Harada's actually up a few cards. So we have to wait till next week to see how Suo tries to bounce back against him, which will be interesting. Yeah, so like I really liked the stuff that went down between Shinobu and Chihaya in this episode. Like, Shinobu's such a likable character. She's so eccentric and weird. But the moments that I like the most are where she starts to break out of her shell and like accepts Chihaya as a friend. And Chihaya like gets through to her just by being really sincere and loving Karata and caring about her. As an opponent, as a rival, and as a friend. So it's really nice to see that stuff play out between them. It's also nice to see Harada like go full intensity mode, because like Harada is always super intense during matches, but even in this match, like the people watching are like, dude, he's like really trying to show us something right now. He's trying to like to lead the way. He's really trying to make this happen. So it's cool to watch.
Awesome.
At least somebody likes it. Keep your hands off Eizouken. Yay!
Hands off.
Episode 6, let's do better than last time. So it turns out they made a big enough impression on the art club that they want to help them, obviously for their own, reasons.
Yeah.
The art robot club also wants them to make an OP for the anime, and they're already like working on a song, and they're just like, shit, more work, god damn it. And like Tsubame is like still a little overwhelmed with the sheer amount of shit she has to draw. So it seems that Sayaka is going to go see if she can get a computer for the club room, which will help with like the final edits and speed up the process a little bit for her. Mm-hmm. And then after school, Sayaka decides to take the other two out for some ramen and to talk about the anime. And Midori has most of the backgrounds done and pretty much the general layout of how the anime is going to go. I thought it was kind of like a really nice touch how Sayaka like pinned her hair up with her glasses.
I saw that too. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
It's like, I've seen girls do it with a pencil, but I'm like, yeah, you could totally do that with glasses too. Huh?
Yeah, if they're like thick rimmed and strong enough, you could do it. Like if you can't do it like thin ones probably, or you might break them or something.
I don't know how it's done in the first place, so I can't say. But Sayaka also managed to get a computer from the like information club, because I guess every year they build a new PC and then they just get rid of the old one no matter what the specs are on it. And I'm just like, that sounds expensive. A new PC every year.
Sounds real expensive. Also sounds really fun. I kind of want to do it. I want to be in this club.
And then Sayaka goes to like the student council president, and she has like a list on the board of like some of the names of the clubs, and there's one in there called Nue Deutsche Harte Club, and I'm like, that's German metal music. What the fuck is that club doing?
Sounds cool. I hope they need a soundtrack later, because maybe that's where it'll come from.
Yes, but the list of these clubs are complaints you're getting about these clubs, and there's a couple other funny ones on there, but that one just like stuck out to me. I'm like, whose idea was to put that on there? That's so fucking random. But Sayaka is, I don't know, either she picked up the task or was given the task of trying to evict the audio club, who's occupying 4 different rooms. Of course, we know Sayaka doesn't do anything without gaining herself. Mm-hmm. And there's only one member, Domeki, who is, you can't tell their gender.
So the website I went and found says that Domeki is a girl, and like, you could have fooled me. I thought Domeki was a guy for sure.
I thought it was a guy too. I thought when Midori first showed up in the very first episode, I thought that was a guy at first for a minute. So I guess it just goes with designs, but like, I don't know, you look like Sayaka and Tsubame, and it's like very clear they're female. So
Yeah, Midori and Domeki just have way more androgynous designs for sure. Like,
yeah, Domeki is the only member and doesn't want to lose all the auto files she has collected. She has literally 4 rooms of it. But then
Isn't
like
it
Midori's,
5? Isn't it 4 extra rooms?
it might be, yeah.
Yeah.
it could be 4 extra, or she's occupying 4 rooms. I don't know. It's a fucking lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot of room. Yeah.
Yeah, but Midori shows up and kind of saves her ass. Sayaka will allow the Auto Club to use their 2 stories and basement as storage if they get full access to the sound library, so they can use it on their anime. See, she always has a motive.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Sayaka also makes Domeki an audio visor on their project, so like you have to work for us also. So
You are now part of our club as well.
yeah, we get access to all your shit, and you have to work for us. You like that deal? So Sayaka and Midori meet with the art club and go over what they need them to do. It's all a little too much for like Midori, and she has to like let her brain cool off afterwards. And she like starts thinking about how impractical the robot is and tells Sayaka they have to ditch it. And Sayaka's like, "You're fucking dumb. We're not doing that." She eventually talks some sense into her, and she ends up like redesigning the inside of the robot, which satisfies her. So this episode I liked so much more than the last episode. The last episode I was just like bored with it.
I'm
this
glad to
one,
hear that. Yeah.
This one was like actually like it felt like there was really good progression. There was like there was the stuff with like the robot club, I think, but I didn't feel like it went anywhere. But like this one actually went somewhere. They actually got like all these nice sound effects because they did the cool thing where like it shows Midori walking on the treadmill over different kinds of like
Foley.
gravel and
And
grass
it's all the
and
same
mud.
noise.
It's the same exact thing.
And then like Domeki pukes. when
Domeki's
she
like,
hears
is so-
no, not this. Anything with this.
It's so bad she vomits like twice.
So good. I loved it when she puked. Yeah, because like sound design is such an underrepresented like part of anime, but it's so important. Like,
because you don't notice it's not there until it's gone, and then you're just like, "Whoa, that's not right." But before, you would never have thought to praise it, I guess, in the first place, so to say.
I like how Midori like was calling out how like you have like the cicada sound, the bell cricket sound, and like the wolf sound that are in like literally every anime ever made outdoors, like in Japan.
And you know what's so funny about that? That's Indiana. You have like
cicadas.
the same fucking weather. Oh yeah, I sent you the because every 16 years there's the year of cicadas, and they get super. I sent you a video of me just standing on my front porch in town, and it was deafening. Yeah,
Yeah, it can be
Like,
fucking loud. It can be very loud.
yeah. You'll be like trying to go to bed, and it's just like I can't hear nothing. Yeah, that's all you hear. It's so bad.
You're just like, why?
Yeah. Okay, and like one last thing about Eizouken, I just really liked how Sayaka did a really good job giving Midori confidence, because like the whole reason that she wanted to change everything with the robot is that she just got grilled by those people from what committee was it? It was the artists. It was from the background artists, like the art club, and like as an artist, it can be really difficult to like stand firm for your vision. It's actually something that came up recently in the Smile Down the Runway anime, where the kid Ikuto, who's like a fashion designer, like is designing clothes for a competition, sort of like a class competition, and like they bring him before a jury, and the entire jury just shits on his design, basically, and then they give everybody a chance to go like fix their design, and then they bring them back. And they say to people who didn't fix their design, who stood by their design, that they are the winners. Because, like, it's hard as an artist, like, when people are criticizing you to just be like, oh, no, like, I feel like I have the right idea here. And so Sayaka, like, reinstilling that confidence in Midori here was pretty cool. I thought it was really
that's
good.
cool. Yeah.
Anywho.
Yep.
All right, ready to talk about id Invaded?
Yes,
I'm ready to talk about id Invaded.
ID invaded.
Nice.
God damn it.
It's never gonna change. You're just gonna have to accept it.
Accept that you're always wrong. Yeah, I accept that a long time ago.
No, fuck off, Leo.
Episode 6.
Anyway, so at the beginning, you've got Hondo and the other detective holding Inami hostage while Kazuta kind of attacks them. There's like a weird standoff, you know? With Hondo sort of like trying to get Kazuto to come out, can't get him to come out, and he's kind of hiding. Finally, Hondo sort of pretends that she shot Inami, and this causes Kazuto to come out into the open, and they're firing at each other. There's one point. Okay, go ahead.
These two detectives are the fucking worst shots in the world.
I know.
They are. I'm like, I think a blind guy could probably be a better shot at this point just by listening to where the noises are coming from. Like,
it's pretty
even
insane.
before that started, like
Yeah,
the Matsuoka guy's just like, he's on a balcony. I'm like, he's 12 feet away? How are you missing?
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm starting to suspect Matsuoka a little bit, so maybe there's more to that.
I did wonder. Yeah, I was like,
Yeah, but then Koharu is just as bad moments.
Yeah,
later.
she's pretty bad, but she also looks like a middle schooler, even though she's apparently 23, so.
Hey, Bcom, welcome to anime.
But I don't know. Like, and then there's at one point where they shoot at Kazuta, and like it goes through the hole in his head, and there's like a focus up, like close up of it being like, oh, what a lucky shot for him.
The camera goes with the bullet through the hole.
Yeah,
Oh, I know, and I'm
pretty
just
sick.
like, what? I'm like, that doesn't make any fucking sense at all.
I believe my thought was, of course you did that. Like, I was like halfway expecting it, not surprised in the slightest that they did that.
That was pretty hilarious. I have to say.
I was like, that's just too dumb for words, is what my thought was. I mean, come on. I don't know. Then, like, obviously, eventually they get the guy, like they get Kazuta.
He gets killed.
Yeah, Hondo kills him. So that's interesting. And you can tell she kind of like wants to in a way, which is also interesting.
That comes up later.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's also interesting to me that she was like super interested in killing Kazuta, but not so much in killing Inami,
Yeah.
which is its own thing. I kind of wonder why. Like, you know.
Well,
'Cause
Kazuto was more of the direct threat, I guess. I don't
Yeah,
know.
and he's also the one doing the killing, and like Inami's just like the mastermind.
Well, but you'd think in a way like Inami would be the one that, if Hondo wants to kill anyone, it would be Inami.
Yeah, but Inami's not going to put up a fight like Kazuta is, and did.
I guess. It's just interesting. I don't know. Back at DHQ or whatever the fuck. Back at the office. Sakaido is diving into Inami's brain. And I thought it was really fascinating kind of seeing her brain kind of being literally the landscape of the moment her mom gets run over, like by that train.
By
So
the train she is on.
I know. Okay, and that made me like, okay, what kind of... It's interesting to me that... So I guess the idea is that when Inami was very young, her mother jumped in front of a train to commit suicide on the train that Inami was coming home from school on.
Yeah.
So to me, it's interesting that Inami chose the place that Inami's brain is stuck at is the place where it, like the moment in time when she, like the train is running over her mom, not before, because if you're thinking like her whole world was ruined by it, then wouldn't it be like the moment before, so it never happens?
Yeah, that's what they think initially, but then they're like, no, because of the station. They've already passed the station. That
Exactly. So it's interesting to me that that's the moment that her brain picked.
This is also Inami's id, and she has an obsession with watching people die.
True.
So this explains her behavior in a way.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Kind of the fascination with it, and like I just think it fucked up her world so much in that instant that she's kind of stuck.
Exactly. That's
Yeah.
pretty much exactly what that whole thing says, is that fucked her world up so much, which is why she's fucked up herself now. So
Yeah. It's also weird to me how Inami obviously doesn't want things to progress with Kazuta at all.
Yeah.
But she is interested in him. Like there's a moment where he's like standing, like talking to Inami, and like looks over at Kazuta, and Inami's like, no, don't pay attention to him. Things have to stay exactly as they are. And I was like, why? That's weird. Like, do you think it's because at the moment her mom died, that's how it was, and so she doesn't want to change it?
Yeah.
Or could it be something else? Because it seems a little weird for that to be what it is.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I really don't know.
And then I also wondered, okay, what kind of fucked up mom is like, this is the train that my daughter is coming home on right now. Why don't I commit suicide in front of her? This will really fuck up her day.
We don't know if she knows or not, but if she did
know,
it's pretty
I would
fucked
say
up.
you would know. You would know. I mean, your daughter probably comes
she was in
to
such a deranged state of mind that she committed suicide. So
okay, but
I
suicide is
the
not
whole
always
thing.
a deranged. That like when people decide to commit suicide, it's a very planned thing. People don't just like run out and do it most of the time. It's something they've thought of a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I think it was intentional because, like, I mean, your kid is going to come home on the same train in the same time
then I would
each day,
say she
every
had
day.
some type of grudge against her child or something like that.
Probably, yeah. Wanted to make her feel
but
pain.
I don't think that's important to the show. I don't think.
Well,
they're
but
talk
I think
about
it's
that.
interesting to think about.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Weird. Anyway, so that whole sequence was very interesting to me. I was like, I was probably one of my favorite idwells that they've gone into.
I liked the image of the circular train track around like the forest. That was pretty interesting.
Overhead shot
when they zoom
that was
out.
pretty cool. Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah. So there's like an instant where they fight John Walker and they talk a little bit about how he actually may be someone on the team, and that's why he's in all of the idwells. And that was interesting to think about. So now we kind of have to look at everyone and be like, are you John Walker? Are you? And like, what motive would someone on the team have?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And then they recommend Hondo as being a detective, which was interesting.
She's killed now.
That whole conversation between her and what is your hard to pronounce name, Matsuoka?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
like,
Matsuoka.
He basically recommended her because he felt like she was a threat to the team. Mm-hmm. And he was just trying to get her away from everybody because he's like, you're actually a little fucked up in the head.
You like killing. Yeah.
That was basically what it came down to. And like, he flat out tells her this. And then like, the way she accepts it's kind of just like, maybe.
Yeah,
I mean,
maybe you kind of figured me out.
Mm-hmm.
Back
to the John Walker thing for a second. So like, as soon as there's just like the Kuro guys or whatever, like the guys from the office are standing around talking about this idea about how one of them might be John Walker because like how else are they connecting all these serial killers together? Like how are they in all of their idwells at the same time? And like the camera kind of lingers on this one dude for a little bit, who hasn't really talked much throughout the show. And so I would be I'm going to say right now, if it's like that guy who has like kind of grayish short hair, I would be really annoyed. But if it's like Matsuoka, or if it's like the boss of the whole agency who always has his eyes closed and is always like, things are going well. Yeah, is that his name?
Yeah.
I didn't know what his name was.
Takuhiko Hayaseru.
Yeah, if it's one of those guys, I think it could be interesting. Like Matsuoka to me would be the most interesting choice for John Walker, just because he's a little bit cagey. He's got a lot of interesting thoughts about like the whole program and about Hondo Machi here like becoming one of them. Like you could almost say like the way he like tells Hondo Machi that like she's meant for this is like he's almost like pushing her into it a little bit, kind of. But yeah, I don't know. I could be completely wrong about Matsuoka. I don't know. That's one of the good things about this show, though, is like I don't know who this John Walker is going to turn out to be, even though they are hinting heavily at somebody in the organization.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would be Serena because she'd have the perfect disguise as disguising herself as a male.
I guess that could be possible.
I hope it's not her. She's fucking hot as hell. But
also Hondo Machi, now that we know that she's a little bit crazy, it gives me a different perspective on when she like drilled a hole in her own head. Like at that point, I thought it was like she was just doing it because out of a sense of duty of being like the best, police officer or whatever she can be. But now I'm like, nah, it's because she's
you look at it a little different.
Crazy.
You're like,
Yeah, she's a little bit of
true.
she's got that killer instinct too, or she wants to see people die as well. I don't know. But yeah, it's time
I think
for
it's
her
more
to
just a
start diving.
conqueror thing. Isn't there also a thing at the end of this episode about this killer being linked to the Challenger victims?
Yes, right at the end. You're right.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see what goes on with that.
If they tell Nari Hisago or Sakaido, whatever, about that, he's gonna get really invested.
Oh,
yeah. It'll be interesting to see if they keep that information from him or if they tell him. Because if they tell him,
he'll find out somehow.
Even if he finds out from like inside an idwell, he'll find out. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's interesting.
For sure.
Are you ready for some Dorohedoro?
Always.
Oh, yeah.
Always.
Episode 6. Okay. Kaiman is pouring himself a beer at the beginning of the episode, and I really liked it because it was like a live action beer.
Dude, I saw that and I was like, I really want a beer now. That was such a good pour.
It was like a beer commercial beer pour. Like you just hear it in my headphones. I was
all
like,
the bubbles are like enhanced. Yeah, it was good.
He's all ready to sit down and eat with Nikaido, but if you remember from the end of last episode, Nikaido is locked in a fight with Noi. So she's not going to be home anytime soon. Nikaido's in trouble and like wisely realizes I don't actually need to beat Noi, I just need to get past her. So she does this like slicing move with her arm. I like freeze framed this. I couldn't see her like throw anything. So it seemed like it was like almost like a power of hers that she like sliced out with her arm and sliced Noi's eye open.
Did she maybe use a tiny bit of her magic?
That's what I assume, and it must have been something to do with her magic, because I really slowed it down frame by frame. I didn't see any like little piece of metal or anything. It kind of
looked like she used her fingertip, right?
Maybe, but it was like far enough away from her eye that it didn't make any contact with Noi's eye. So I think it's magic. I think, anyway. I don't know. So the demons made a door into this mansion that they're all in, which allowed Risu to get away. And En realizes that maybe Risu was the leader of the cross-eyed dudes all along. Meanwhile, the headless cross-eyed guy, like who has his head cut off, whatever, asks Risu not to tell them about that man, whatever he does, quote unquote, that man. And Risu just asks him, "Who killed me?" So lots of mysterious stuff going on here. Around this time, Nikaido sees Risu through a window in a different wing of the mansion entirely, but that does not stop her because she just gets a running start, breaks through one window, and just like jumps like 25 feet. And it's so great because like you see En and Shin come into this room and they see Risu and he's like, "What?" And he's like looking at them and you see the window and just Nikaido
you see her flying towards the window and they're like, "Fuck!" in slow motion.
I love it, like kicking her legs. Yeah, it's so good. So like she crashes through the window. And then En and Nikaido both get Risu by like one arm, but she punches En in his mouth, breaking his mask open, and he gets super pissed about that and unleashes a ton of that black powder stuff, which starts creating giant mushrooms everywhere, and it's going to start turning people into mushrooms. So Nikaido runs immediately. Risu is fine because he already is like kind of powered by that smoke.
The magic, his magic is already in him, so he was immune to it.
Yeah, so he's fine. Luckily, Noi shows up to stop En rampaging, and like she like slaps him hard on the back, knocking him out. But,
Shin's
like,
bottom half is part of a mushroom.
Yeah, Shin and Ebisu are like, turning into mushrooms, and Nikaido was running away, but she also didn't get away unscathed. She like reaches the hideout just as like a giant mushroom bursts out of her back, and she's like, "Kaiman, cut it out, cut it out." Before the magic spreads through.
Intense.
Yeah, it's pretty fucked up. We don't actually get to see that happen, but we hear
I
later.
will say these mushrooms, every time it kills somebody or gets on somebody, is so unsettling. It just gives me goosebumps every time.
There's something about mushrooms that's just like, yeah, it's weird. Like if your body was to start breaking out into mushrooms, that would be a really weird feeling. Yeah, yikes.
Yeah.
So Noi is able to get some mushrooms to stop taking over Shin by like breathing some of her own smoke into him.
Which she has healing powers.
Oh, yeah. I guess it's the healing power too. Probably, you're right. Yeah. And Kaiman like acts quickly and takes Nikaido right to those doctors. And they like cut her up, or they cut the fucking mushroom out of her, kind of, and heal her. While she's recovering, Kaiman asks them like what they know about Shin, and it's kind of a long story about Shin. So it's a flashback, like 10 years ago. People in Hole hadn't quite accepted the subjugation of these sorcerers from this other world, and were still fighting back. And Shin was living in Hole, and his father was a human, but his mother had been a sorcerer. But his mother had also been killed by this like neighborhood watch who were standing up against sorcerers when he was a baby, and so he always held a grudge about that. But he still like was living quietly with his father. He was working in this like woodworking factory, and one day he cuts himself, and the manager of the factory notices that like the blood shows those black powder particles that mark the sorcerer people. So he immediately rats on him, and like he runs away, but he tries to go back home that night, and the night watch people had killed his father, and were just sitting there waiting for him. And so he fucking loses it. He takes like the hammer that he was using at the factory, and he goes to work on these people.
You see where that came from.
Yep. Origin story. And he just continues to like slaughter these neighborhood watch people for months, like killing tons of them. And the docs met with Shin back then when he came into their like hospital or clinic one day, and he had cut his own arms off with their like instruments and stuff. And he's searching for smoke veins in his arms because he's not.
I don't understand that. Like, if you don't find them, or even if you do, like, then you still don't have any freaking arms. Like, what the hell?
Well, yeah, but then he can use his magic.
Well, but so you don't have any fucking arms.
You can still use your magic now.
You also can't eat.
You can't pick shit up, but you can fuck people up with your magic.
It doesn't matter.
It was a little bit of a desperate move, yeah. I don't know how far ahead he was thinking, but he does say later that like, oh well, because like, okay, the doctors find him, and the doctors are kind of nice to him, and they decide to like help him find these smoke veins, and so they like do some surgery on him to find it. And they're like, what do you want us to do with your fucking cut up arms? We can't like put them back on you because they'll just rot. And he's like, no, if you put them back on, I'll go to the sorcerer's world and get somebody to heal them back. So he at least thinks there's a possibility he can heal his arms after cutting them off. So he's not just completely forgoing his arms, but it is real risky what he did.
He's literally dragging dead weight on his arms. He doesn't have arms.
Yeah, but he thinks he can get them healed. So
well, yeah, but at this point he doesn't know that. I'm just saying
he believes it. So.
He believes it, and obviously he found Noi, so we already know that.
Well, I know, I'm just saying
it's a little bit, it's super risky what he did. It's kind of nuts. He's fucking nuts, yeah. He wears a heart on his head, he's the fucking nutso. Yes. As he leaves the hospital, it's funny because like in this flashback, he sees Nikaido passing by, and she's like this little girl version of herself selling gyoza on the street, and he steals a box with his mouth and runs off.
See, he can still eat. He doesn't need his arms.
So Shin promised to show these doctors his magic once before returning to the sorcerer's world, and boy does he keep his promise. He uses his new smoke abilities to slice and dice 46 neighborhood watch members, sending them over to this clinic for them to work on. The thing he does where he slices people in parts, but they're still alive. Yeah. Predictably, nobody stood up to the sorcerers after all this. That was kind of the end of the fighting back.
The neighborhood watch.
Yeah, at least the organized fight, yeah. So Nikaido's doing better, and this is back in the present, and she thinks to herself that the demon Asu told her that he doesn't know who gave Kaimon his lizard head, but he also told Nikaido that her magic would be a shortcut to solving the problem. But she clearly only wants to use her magic as a last resort. So it's like she could fix all this easily, but she doesn't want to do that for whatever reason. She sees a shadowy figure outside of her hospital window, but Kaiman shows up like right then with some terrible gyoza that he cooked. Just awful.
It's burnt.
It's like raw meat, burnt. It's just the worst. Luckily, he knows how to order a pizza, and so he goes to do that.
The pizza is delivered immediately. He literally walks from the phone to the door, and the guy is standing there with the pizza.
I want to live in this world. That sounds
I do
great.
not, because I would be so fucking fat if I knew I could get a pizza that quick.
It's like instant Chinese food. Like, you call, it's already at your door. That's very dangerous, yeah. So, yeah, they leave. Okay, so, like, as he's getting the pizza, the docs are telling Nikaido about, like, the mass disappearances of their patients from this hospital, which is why they don't have normal food to give to her, because they had stopped ordering food. And so they leave Nikaido alone for a minute, and the docs show Kaimon the pass that she had from Asu. That is, like, a pass that only a sorcerer would get from a demon. And
a high-level sorcerer, specifically.
Yeah, high-level sorcerer. And they also say, like, dude, we did surgery on her. Like, she's clearly a sorcerer. Like, you can't pretend she's not anymore. But before Kaimon can process all this, he hears a scream and finds Nikaido missing from her bed and the window open, and sees some dude carrying her down a rainy alley. The chase leads him into that alley where Nikaido first found him, like when he died or whatever, it was changed. And into a manhole down into the fucking sewers where there is a fucking cockroach monster.
It's the cockroach from the OP, man.
It's fucking giant.
It has a name. Give us the name.
So, as they chase he gets away from the cockroach monster and finds the guy, and the guy is all like, well, first of all, he sees all these floating bodies in the water of the sewer, so those are the missing hospital victims. This guy has been collecting their bodies and taking these metal balls out of them that are like basically these black gemstones that he believes are gonna make him into a sorcerer, even though it doesn't seem to like work that way at all. And the man calls out to Johnson to like come protect him when Kaimon's like pinning him up against the wall, and Johnson is the name of the cockroach monster. And I like how he deals with the situation, Kaimon. He like cuts the dude's legs off, and then he throws a shoe into the water for Johnson to go fetch. So that works. But yeah, this man, like, frustratingly briefly says that he was there when Kaimon was turned into a lizard, but then dies before he can say anything else, basically. He also says Nikaido's there, too.
He also said he saw Nikaido, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, and that's where the episode ends. That was pretty, again, another fucking nuts episode of Dorohedoro.
Yep.
I don't know if we talked about it last episode, but they had that Wolfenstein ED.
I love it.
Which is pretty cool, like the Revenge of Castle Wolfenstein style ED or whatever, is pretty dope. With like the first person perspective of N carrying a mushroom around is pretty cool.
Yeah, I like them. I really love the music in it too.
Oh yeah, it's pretty good.
It's got a really good beat too. I've listened to that ED and the OP like at least twice every day for the past like 2 weeks.
Really? That's crazy.
They got such good beats. I don't know. I can't help myself.
Yeah, the OP is especially a good beat. I really like it. This is a good beat too, though. Man, yeah, I'm so curious about like Nikaido's magic. I'm sure we're gonna see what it is and why she doesn't want to use it, but yeah, I'm really curious. I don't know.
Yeah, it should be interesting to see what she does.
All right, well, I'm going to take a break, and we'll be back with the second half and our mid-season cuts discussion.
Woo! All right.
See you.
Hi, I'm JD, your host of the Red Leaf Retrocast, your best location to learn, remember, and relive the past to the present. Our podcast has 4 shows for you to listen to between retro gaming, modern gaming, anime, and even wrestling. The Retro Gaming Cast covers discussion topics, and each episode we discuss retro games picked based on a decided theme for that episode, ranging from space all the way to console specials like the old handheld Game Boy. Our Modern Gaming Cast is monthly and covers video game titles that were released in that previous month. Each anime cast, we focus to review a retro anime each and every episode, like the original Mobile Suit Gundam to the racing hit Initial D. But that's not all. We also keep up with the seasonal shows, by occasionally doing impressions and reviews as well. Finally, our last show is about wrestling, where we keep the rising indie scene up to date, while also covering shows from the bigger promotions like Ring of Honor, New Japan, and WWE, so we cover it all. We also cover a retired wrestler every episode in what we call the Wrestler Spotlight, and are currently on a quest covering old WCW Thunder episodes from the late 90s, every cast. So if any one of those casts sound like something you'd like to check out, that's the Red Leaf Retrocast, Gaming, Anime, and Wrestling, found at iTunes, Stitcher Radio, Spotify, and all your favorite podcasting sites. Also, you can learn, remember, and relive the past to the present. We can't wait to see you soon.
Hey dude, you into anime, manga, and all that radical stuff?
Oh yeah, man, it's tubular.
Then you should totally check out the...
This transmission has been hacked. If you want discussions, debate, reviews, and all in between, you must listen to the Anime Radicals Network at www.animeradicals.com. There's timely reviews, revolutions, mecha, and much more. Find it on iTunes, Google Podcasts, and all podcast catchers. The Anime Radicals Network.
The revolution will be simulcast.
Woohoo! And we are back for some Seton Academy. Join the
Satan
pack.
Academy, welcome
Satan
to hell.
Academy.
Satan Academy. Why has no one done that yet?
I want to say, I know the listeners can't see this, but if you look at Miyubi's picture in the doc, if you think of her mouth as her tongue sticking out, it's just so much funnier to me.
Oh, yeah, I can see that. These pictures are from AnyDB.net, so if you want to find the picture, I guess you could find it.
I look
there.
at it, I'm like, why is she sticking out her tongue? Oh, no, that's her mouth.
Nice.
Episode 6, The Legend of the Panda Girl. The school's getting ready to welcome a new student. They draw lots to see who has what job, and like Ronka draws make a hot spring, which is super hard. She's like, shit! But Jen's like, I got this. So he basically just built an entire hot spring by himself because Jen is super,
That was impressive.
Super, he's capable of like anything, I think, at this point. I can figure out.
I guess. I thought it was hilarious that they make a big commotion about this panda, just like zoos do in real life. Like, there's always like, oh my God, there's a panda going to be born here. Everyone in the nation needs to know.
Yeah, it's specifically brought up that like China just like endears fucking pandas, and it is a super big deal. And like at one point, like they did a panda zoo, and people came by every single fucking day to look at the pandas, and it's like against the law to even slightly mistreat a panda and like all kinds of crazy shit.
I think they were talking about a museum in Japan in like 1972 or something when they were talking about those lines. I'm pretty sure.
Well, they animated it with like them in cages, and
yeah. I think it's like they were saying like when they brought pandas to first to Japan, like it was like crazier than the lines you would see at Comic-Con, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, no, and that's pretty crazy because Comic-Con is like some crazy shit. But no, I don't know. I mean, they do that even in the U.S. though, I guess was my point. Mm-hmm. But yeah, you're right. Like, and it's interesting to compare like China versus Japan, how they treat pandas, because like in Japan they're very idolized, but in China it's even more so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the reason she's a big deal is she's an idol, and her name is Mei Mei. She's also a spoiled brat who freaks out when she is offered the wrong kind of bamboo she doesn't like. So, yeah. Fuck you. Anyways, Mei Mei goes and wanders off alone and comes across, like, King watching the impala, and he's like, oh.
I will say, sorry, about the bamboo. Like, the pandas are like that, though. Like, pandas are, like, really fucking picky about the bamboo they eat. Like, so that's just, real facts, animal facts, like you like.
Yeah, we also have to practically force them to fucking mate so they don't fucking die off.
This is true.
So, dumb animals. Which Mei Mei is. She's kind of dumb. But King says something about cutting off his mane a while back, and Mei's like, here, I'll cut it for you, and just like cuts a bald spot out and puts it on her head and like acts like just like nobody will recognize me now, and then like King loses the rest of his hair. That keeps happening a lot.
Yeah, it's a running gag.
And Jin ends up making some panda dumplings, which are like, I guess, a specific thing for them. They're made with like cornstarch or something like that. And Mei Mei smells them out, and she steals like one out of Yukari's hand, and she like freaks out and like lifts up a table. And she's like, I will kill you. But then Mei Mei demands Jin make more, and he's like, yeah. he doesn't give two shits. He's like, yeah, I don't care if you're famous or not, but fuck you. Of course, she throws a temper tantrum, and yeah, Jin's still going to refuse. And Mei Mei hatches like a plan to start giving gifts to everybody in the cooking club to like win them over. And this is kind of funny because Yukari gets a Yiming Sha, and Bcom, you looked that up.
Yeah, it's apparently a Chinese quote unquote herb. It's just bat shit. It's bat feces. Like, it apparently helps with, like, the website that I looked at says it helps with vision problems like cataracts and also dissipating heat from your body. So, all right, if you want to try that, like,
so
it's
a beauty product, basically.
No, it's like a medicinal product for them. Yeah, medicinal.
Okay,
herb.
Sure. Hilarious to me, Yubi gets a Segway so she can move around easier. And her just like rolling down the hallways, all the students like, ooh, I was dying.
That was pretty great.
It killed me. She also tells Ronka, she's like, you know what? I have 1.3 billion fans, so I'll just have them join your pack. And basically, Ronka just like shuts down and freaks out.
Oh, yeah. I mean, she's just like, oh, I can't almost handle the idea of this.
Yeah, basically, like she just snaps a little. And like even Hitomi gets bought off with like an expensive silk apron that looks like a panda. Mm-hmm. And she's like, you know what? Maybe she should join. And Jen's like, God damn it. And now that everybody's been bought, they say they should make more panda dumplings because earlier he told her that like, hey, everybody in the club decides what we make. So, you know, majority rules. Jen's like, fuck it, fine, whatever. But Mei Mei has to help too. Also, Mei Mei has never been treated this way and starts to think she might like Jen a little bit. And at this point, I'm just like, little panda girl's starting to realize her first fetish.
She's become a little darkness from Konosuba. She's embracing her inner darkness.
Basically, that's who we got. She wants to join the club, but Jen says all the members have to agree, but there's one missing, who is Kurumi, the cat. In like, as Bcom, you say in your notes too, and as I've definitely noticed, in the best portrayal of a cat person, like just the rest of this episode, Kurumi hides under the desk and hisses at Mei Mei when she shows up, and I'm like, yep.
Yeah.
When cats do that, when they like run underneath like a table, and they're like, you can clearly still see them, but they think that they're hiding from you. It's the cutest fucking thing ever. I love it.
It is pretty cute because you're just like, but you're not slick at all.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
maybe slightly more difficult to get at, but
yeah.
So apparently Jin has to cage Mei Mei so Kurumi will come out, but she's still unaccepting of her, and Mei Mei stays in the cage overnight to prove she wants Kurumi's acceptance. And then sometime during the night, Kurumi stopped by and you think laid a blanket over Mei Mei. And hilariously, she also left a naked mole rat as a gift, which is what 100% what cats do. My cousin, she has a cat, and she'll go out the back door, and there'll be a dead bird or a squirrel or a chipmunk on the fucking back porch every once in a while. And she's like, God damn it. So basically, that's how Kurumi says she accepts her. And of course, she becomes part of the club, and Ronka tells her she must now lick the mouth of the boss, who she mistakes as Jin, and like runs up to Jin and like starts licking his mouth.
Yeah.
So that was weird. And then we just happened to find out it was actually Jin who stopped by and gave her the blanket, because we see him with that blanket later on like a different episode.
Oh, see, I didn't even notice that. That's cute. I missed that part.
Yeah, because they're in the hot springs, and they're like, what about the blanket thing, so and so? And then you see Jin with that exact same blanket later on.
Okay.
And he like sneezes, like it's a quick 3-second scene.
That's nice.
And like poor King, he gets like an after credits thing, and like some like other Impala or a deer or whatever, or Louise from Beastars is like grabs the Impala.
Or Louise from Beastars.
He's like, nice. Don't worry about him, as he like puts his arm around the Impala and walks her away. He's like, you shouldn't bother with carnivores or something like that. And then I got the looking after like this episode finished, I reloaded my queue in Crunchyroll, and I kind of looked at the pic that they have for it, and it's the little skunk girl.
Oh no.
And I was like, oh shit, Bcom Skunk Girl's getting the center stage for this
Oh,
touch
no.
part.
It's gonna be a smelly episode.
It'd be a smelly episode.
Who gets sprayed first? I put my bets on Ranka.
Jin. Oh, Ranka, you think? I think Jin, 100%. Also, I forgot to mention, like, when Mei Mei shows up, she's in a fucking limo that just looks like the flag of China, and for some reason that cracked me up. Yeah. That was hilarious.
It was pretty funny.
Dude, watching Catgirl run under the desk and she's like, I was like, that made me laugh pretty good. That little scene right there.
Yeah.
Mei Mei is definitely an annoying, stuck-up bitch, but also pandas are kind of like that, so I kind of forgive her for it.
Yeah. It fits her personality well. Like, the whole thing fits well as a character. I'll give him that.
Yeah, she's a pretty fun addition to the group. A lot of
I thought it was
personality.
interesting, the weird masochism that she has. Mm-hmm. It's an interesting
Like
little...
Bcom said, it's darkness from Konosuba. So it's just like, yep.
I've never been treated this way.
Ooh, yes.
Oh, man. All right, let's move on to the next show, BOFURI.
Yes. Okay, so this is episode 6. At the beginning of the episode, Maple has some issues readjusting to life outside the game once she gets to school.
Cringed so hard during this whole fucking beginning.
I thought it was
know.
hilarious.
I was like, really? Because it was kind of funny, but like not. I don't know. It was a lot of like, oh, and they're playing basketball, and she like pushed the ball in a weird way, or like someone bumped into her in the hallway, and she got very defensive, and it's just like, nah.
But I like that the show is sort of like just raising the question a little bit, like not necessarily, these are jokes and everything that they're doing, but like raising the question of like, hey, if there was a full dive VR MMO that condensed like a week's worth of time into 2 days.
I was glad it confirmed that, and we were right.
It
was
would,
really
like,
happy.
That's
it would
true.
fuck up your perception of reality. Like, it would be a real problem. Like, they're making jokes out of it, like, sure, but like, I think people would really suffer psychologically from something like that.
Well, wouldn't you do like education programs that way? Like, you spent like,
Oh, yeah.
I was in VR for 2 days, but I did a whole week's worth of learning. Like,
I went to college this weekend, guys.
exactly. Like,
Your brain wouldn't be able to handle. I feel like there would be a huge disconnect once you got out into the real world, because your physical brain in the real world takes time to like consider information, right?
yeah,
Like,
like your body with like the energy your brain would use to like keep up with that world, I feel like would just be like, you'd come out of it just like on such a fucking downer that like you could barely function for like a day or two.
That's how I think. Yeah, that'd be pretty messed up.
Yeah, but she handles it somehow. Yeah, there's some interesting points there. I don't know if they ever will address that in this anime. That would be interesting to see. But I don't know. So that happens for a while. I'm kind of like, blah. Maple and Sally look for a guild house since they have money now.
That's pretty cool.
And they almost go on like a mini house hunters trip.
Yeah, that was cute.
Yeah. And so they start a guild. They find this like cute little place. And they put Maple in charge, which was interesting to me. Like, I understand she's the star of the show, but she doesn't seem like a good leader.
Yeah, not necessarily. She's kind of the leader by default because like she brought them all together, kind of thing. That's it. Yeah. Like
Sally would be a much better leader.
Probably.
Yeah, she's also the veteran here of video gaming, so
Yeah. So
yeah,
that
but
doesn't make
Sally
sense to
being
me.
her second is like, that's cool. She's the VP.
I mean, yeah, I guess. It's like the shadow second. Like, really, she's in charge.
This is the person actually running everything from behind the scenes.
And they recruit Kasumi and Kanade pretty quickly. They're both pretty skilled players, that's great. They start mining for like supplies and gold and stuff in the dungeon, which Kanade is really helpful for that.
Oh yeah, she's pretty good at that.
Farming, yes, that's
Yep.
that is 100% a video game thing.
Yeah. And then I think it's interesting that this anime really does include things like that, like farming and stuff like most video games will not do that. Or sorry, anime will not do that. Like show all that stuff that video games do, but it's kind of boring.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and they recruit those little hammer girls finally to the guild as well.
Yes.
Yui and May.
The Yui and May, yeah. Which I thought that was really interesting. They're like the opposite of Maple. So they're like specialists in attack instead of defense. It'll be interesting. I think that will way like heighten their power.
Yeah,
because then if you pair them with Maple, it's like, fuck.
Yeah, that's what Sally says. Like, pair them up with Maple, all of their weaknesses are kind of gone. Because they have protection, so they can just go ham. Which I can't wait to say. They like break the table in the guild house like by touching it like with their pinky or something. And so I'm very curious to see what they can do.
They bow and hit the table with their foreheads.
Oh, that's right. You're right. That's what they do. Also, I forgot that like when they first get the guild house, like Syrup, the little turtle, jumps up on the table and does a little dance, and it's like the cutest fucking thing. I can't get enough of the mascot characters in this show. They're so good.
It is really cute. It is.
Also, Sally can use Shadow Clone Jutsu now. She's Naruto.
Oh, one observation I made while this show kept going was that Kuromu is surrounded by women.
Yeah.
And they're going to think he's starting a harem.
Probably. It's okay. I mean, everybody knows that Maple wears the pants in this guild, and Sally. So, yeah. That was another fun episode. Like, yeah, there wasn't like much to that episode, honestly, besides just like recruiting and getting the guild house, but it was still pretty fun.
Yeah, it was a very straightforward episode. I did find it very entertaining, like you said.
Yeah. All right. Another straightforward episode is Haikyu to the Top, episode 6, Enhancements.
Yes.
Says the guy who wrote 4 times what Kat had.
Well, yeah. But I mean,
it's true.
I have a terrible memory, so I kind of have to.
Well, I mean, and this episode, they finally did things.
Yeah, they did do some stuff finally.
And
it's still slow, but they're getting there at least, like the second half. They kick off with the Karasuno guys coming back. They all welcome each other, make some jokes and stuff. And then after the OP, Hinata helps Yachi, one of the team managers, put some green tape on the net to divide it into 9 even parts. Because they want to
Hold up.
Yeah. Yes, there are girls in the show, Leo. I know.
The biggest reaction this show has got out of me was this episode when it showed the 2 girls standing to the side, and I literally gripped my armrests and went out loud to myself, nobody in here, there's girls in this show?
You know they're in episode 1, right?
There are girls in all of the seasons. Like, there's a season where
I haven't seen
one of the
anything.
sisters.
I've only seen this season.
Okay.
And episode 1 happened forever ago. There's been nothing but solid guys since then. And then put this cute girl up here with glasses on, and I was just like, who's she? I want to hear her story.
So not only are the girls cute, like the 2 manager girls, so Yachi gets added in season 2. She's a newer manager than, what's her name? Shimizu? God, I'm forgetting names. But
who's Glasses Girl?
Yeah, Glasses Girl. So they are not only just the team managers, they also get like multi-episode arcs about them. Like they are real characters.
I want to go back and watch that
you
one. You
should go back and watch. It's fucking good. Yeah, Yachi in season 2 especially is like one of my favorite parts of season 2. She's like they actually take the time to make her a pretty good character, and I really like that about Haikyu. Like I said, it gives everybody's perspective. It's not just the players. It's not just the coaches. It's not just the managers. It's everybody's perspective on the show that matters, I feel like. So, yeah. The dividing the net was to help practice serves. At the practice, Kinoshita at one point shows off this like flashy jump float serve, which even Nishinoya has trouble receiving because it's very unpredictable when it's going to like duck down. And so your best bet is to move towards it and take it overhand, which Nishinoya, as good as he is better at digging out like from the ground rather than overhand sets. So Yamaguchi continues to be pretty off with his serves, which is worrisome since he was such a big weapon for them in past tournaments. So that's like a developing thing in the background. There's a pretty cool moment where Hinata uses his split step on a tough serve from Kageyama, which kind of impresses everybody, including the team manager, Shimizu, because she's actually able to tell, like, hey, he did that on purpose for once. Hinata asked Kageyama to explain to him, like, what he meant when he said, you can fly higher. And so he's like, well, like, it's like he's kind of, like, quite literal about it. Like, I think you can, like, literally jump higher. He tells Hinata that his normal jumps are like pyon pyon, whereas his great jumps are like dong. Because that's the only way Kageyama can fucking describe things, is like through ridiculous like little sound effects. But he basically means like you need to plant your feet the right way when you're going up for your jumps. You need to jump off the balls of your feet, and so they get practicing.
I think he really just means he needs more power. Like he does all these really agile jumps with his when he does get the ball, but like he needs to actually just like plan more instead of going
Like,
for more agility.
Commit with the jump.
Yeah.
With like a bunch of power.
That too, for sure. Yeah, he needs to like really plant and jump off that plant. Yeah. So then they start practicing this, though. Like they kind of get yelled at for wanting to practice and not overworking themselves by Daichi. But Hinata is about to finally like show off one of these huge jumps, taking Kageyama's advice, and then like the animation slows down and it's like really fluid and looks really good. And then team captain Daichi just like, yells through the window, "Go home, you idiots!" And so he like falls and the ball hits him in the head. So we have to wait until a bigger game to see that jump. Hinata noticed in practice the next day that Tsukishima is receiving sets lower from Kageyama than he was at the prefectural practices, which is interesting. And Kageyama kind of perks up at that.
Was he saying like he's giving him preferential treatment or something to the other players, or like what's he?
No, he's saying he's just not setting it as high as Tsukishima can go. Like he's not understanding how hard Tsukishima can work and how high he can jump. He's underestimated him, I think, is what that whole thing is about. And Tsukishima's happy because he's like, oh, I don't have to jump so high. But like realistically, he should be jumping higher and going all out. But that's always been a problem for him. And Kageyama talks with the coach Ukai, who wonders if something's bothering him because he's been kind of like a little distant since he's come back. And so he asks him about the goody two-shoes thing. What does it mean? And Ukai has an interesting perspective on that. He basically says that his sets are really easy to spike, and that his like grandpa Ukai always said like that's the most important thing. As long as a ball is easy to spike, that's good. And so he shouldn't worry about the goody two shoes thing. So, but that tells us that he thinks the goody two shoes comment relates to this whole like making it easy for spikers rather than like directing them to where the ball should be and where they can like excel the most, which I think is what that kid at the practice was talking about. But like that's Kageyama used to be like that. He used to be like a dictator, but I think he needs to find like a middle ground where he's getting the best out of his spikers while also making it easy enough for them to hit, basically. He's got to like test their limits, I think. So yeah, Date Tech is the team that shows up for the practice match.
Yeah, we were right about that. It is Date Tech.
Yeah.
I was like, oh. I hope I'm not wrong, because that would be bad.
Oh, fuck, it's Albatross shit.
I know.
Yeah, I liked the elaborate intro graphic thing that they did for the team lineups.
I did not like it. So here's where we differ.
It was
so
hilarious.
I was like, this is like a video game. This is weird. Why are we doing this? This has not been a thing any of the other games. You can't just come in with this now in the fucking 4th season.
It was weird, yeah.
You mean how they were introducing the players on each team?
Yeah, with like the flames behind them and explosions.
That's what they do with football.
Oh yeah, it was like the XFL though. It was like super over the top kind of.
It was way
They
dramatic.
do that with the NFL.
Oh yeah, they do.
But that doesn't mean they need to do it in this anime just because they do it in the
Like
NFL.
you're hating on it, and I'm like, they do it in a professional sports. What are you?
Well, yeah, but this is a high school
good.
volleyball game. A practice game. I was like, why are they doing this for a practice volleyball game? I think that's why it was kind of funny, because it was so over the top. So
yeah, for sure.
So Kageyama has some trouble with the Date Tech blocking. Like Azumane's first spike gets rejected on the first play. So Ukai kind of breaks down what's going on. Like Date Tech uses bunched up read blocking, meaning they bunch 3 front blockers in the center of the court, and then they wait for the set to go up. They read that, and they all move as one to that side of the court to block the spike.
Yeah, the idea of it being the psychological pressure was like really interesting and a good point, because I mean, sports are all about intimidation.
Oh yeah, and they're like completely shutting down the center of the court. Like they're vulnerable to quick outside attacks, but the three
supposedly.
Supposedly, but the three main blockers are so experienced that they're really good at reading and getting to the outside.
Yeah, so no matter when they go to the left or to the right, two of them always go that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. The middle always goes each way, and then whoever's on that side goes with it also. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so this puts like a ton of pressure on Kageyama because he's trying to make the right decision and he keeps getting increasingly frustrated because he keeps making either the wrong decision or the right decision, but his spikers just can't do it. Like, they're not good enough to beat this blocking. Like, Azumane keeps getting blocked. Tsukishima barely makes a dent in the whole action of the game. And, like, Nishinoya at the end of the episode makes a big Rolling Thunder save. Like, and he, like, sort of poses and he's like, Rolling Thunder! And Kageyama's just like, dude, you're in the way. Get out of the way. And Nishinoya kind of, like, freaks out and everybody's, like, really surprised. And that's where the episode ends. But I'm guessing Kageyama's right in that he's been playing with these really, really great players for a couple days. And he's probably seen plays that were better than that, where the player also kept their momentum and got out of the way and got back into the play. Whereas Nishinoya is just like sort of reveling in the fact that he even got there at all. Which, hey, it was a really good dig, but also the play has to go on. So,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. There's definitely going to be some friction between Kageyama and these guys. So,
Yeah, it is interesting. I don't know. The imagery that Haikyu uses is always very weird and different. Like the wall in the background when they're doing the bunch block versus the spread out was interesting to me. Like, it always just feels like very, I don't know. It just makes you think of different things, like an Attack on Titan or something.
yeah.
Or the walls talking to you.
Maybe.
It makes it really easy to understand. With like, if you weren't listening to the subtitles for the show, like, and you saw like the huge wall behind those guys, you would still understand what's happening, obviously. Like, what they're talking about. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, for sure. So it's definitely picked up. I'm very happy with where it's going and all of that.
Yeah.
So it's good. All right. Interspecies review.
Yes.
You're terrible.
Good luck.
Now for our raunchiest show. You're terrible.
You picked it. It's your fucking luck.
It's my fault. Okay. They're laughing because my dad is over recording or helping me with my dryer. So, yeah.
You made your bed, now you have to lie in it.
I know.
This is so nice.
You guys are terrible. Okay. So they decide that they want to go to a golem brothel. So this is weird to me because they don't even seem to understand what this will be.
Well, it's decided because they can't figure out where they go. And Majory's like, well, how about you go to the sex shop that is whoever walks in the door next.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like this big blocky golem, and she's laughing about it for now. And they're like, fuck. Does not look good.
Yeah, no.
But tell us about the golem brothel.
Okay. So, well, first I want to point out that while they're going there, Stone talks about how his dad didn't have any in his harem, which I'm like, what the heck? How many girls did your dad have in his harem? What is going on there? Like, there is going to be a background of Stunk, right?
Probably, yeah.
There has to be, because he keeps dropping these, like, little hints or whatever.
Oh, there was the thing I wanted to say. So, like I said, I've read some of the manga, but I haven't seen an update in a year. Well, since this anime came out, literally like a couple days ago, they dropped 20 chapters on us.
Yeah, they
like,
got right
the
on
translators. The translators jumped on it, and they just dropped like 20 chapters in like 3 or 4 days. So I got to catch up a whole bunch and remember stuff because it's been a while since I saw it, and like I see the stretches the anime goes.
Okay.
Even as like this one, I wasn't really able to look at, but like I'll be able to talk about this in the next episode, which I've already watched. Like how much extra stuff has been like added, and not even all of it sexual.
Oh, interesting.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just like things to like draw out scenes and stuff that like I didn't notice, but now I can kind of start seeing. But especially with the next episode, after like just reading that chapter yesterday or the day before, and then seeing that episode, I'm like, wow, they really stretched this out. Like they are really trying to keep this going and like doing a great job with it. So that's cool. All right.
Yeah. So you get to make your own like girl. So the whole idea is that you just get to make like whatever doll you want. Kind of like Build-A-Bear.
That's in my notes.
I know.
Build-A-Bear Workshop. But then there's
They even make like hints, like jokes about it, like Build-A-Bear.
They say she literally says "build a bitch" in the episode.
I saw
subs. Yeah,
in the subs,
Yes.
I saw "build a bitch," and I wondered if that was actually the real translation.
yeah. So that's the thing.
I don't know,
Okay, I
but
want to
that's
talk
interesting.
for just a second about the translation because, like, it's so the subs we're watching at this point, I think, are just like fan subs from 4chan. They're like anonymous subs, at least. And so I don't have much of a problem with them. I think they've been pretty good for the last like 3 episodes. I just
I've liked
noticed
them.
in the first half of this episode that they got a little bit more coarse with the language, like the Build-A-Bitch shit and like magical Muffholes and like there's
Yeah.
a lot of stuff like that that was just like, this seems a little bit beyond what like a normal subtitler would like translate to. At the same time, the characters are really fucking crass assholes, so it kind of fits. It's just like it just felt a little bit more over the top. Like it didn't feel super consistent with the rest of the episodes we've seen. But also,
my gosh.
I get it though. Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I don't think they're that like jerkish. I think they're just pervs.
They are,
But,
yeah.
you know.
For the most part, they're just pervs.
Yeah, regular perv stuff. Wait till the next episode. Jesus Christ.
Great.
So the idea is like all of them try to make a doll. They all stink at it except Conchal, which is interesting. I guess it's like, you know, an artist thing. Like, are you a good artist? Are you not?
Yeah, he's just like, oh, it's just a talent that comes easily to me, basically.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it's kind of like building a character in a video game. Like I take forever and I feel like it never turns out well. I'm like frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
You guys ever have that where you're just like,
I take forever on character creation screens sometimes. At least I did when I was like growing up playing video games. And then at a certain point, I just broke and I was like, I don't care anymore. Like I've created so many characters, I just can't care at this point.
I have a pretty much set of a male or a female character, and like I pretty much just like go what looks closest to that, and that's just what I do for every game at this point.
Yeah, unless it's like the whole game is sort of about focusing on the character, then maybe I'll spend more time and try to come up with something fun. But yeah, I don't. Yeah, you could spend your entire life on fucking creating characters in games. That's like it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
yeah, I guess. So I don't know. They get to that. They all just decide to use Conchal and have him make like 4 of the same one, and they all copy Maidry.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This
which I was like,
this is so fucked up.
it's messed up. It's like she's not interested in any of them, so they're like, oh yeah, like.
I already thought it was like kind of messed up when she looked like a wooden doll, but like once they get with her, she looks like completely like she would.
Yeah, she looks real.
She looks extremely real. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you can like choose the personality that you want to put in the robot. So like they put different ones in there, which is interesting. They have these like the fish tank of like those weird like whole fish.
Owner holes.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was creepy.
It's so
What
weird.
the heck?
Oh, they were
No.
like magical creatures or something, they said, as they like flit around this fish tank. Oh, it was so weird.
I was like, no, stop it. And she's like, no, these are smaller. These are the bigger ones. And I'm like, what?
Exactly how owner holes work.
Oh, jeez. They don't, old holes don't come alive. Well, not in that sense, anyway. Oh, God.
Okay, so like I don't know. They get back to the restaurant. She's not happy with them. She just whoops all their butts, basically.
Well, she's confused on why they had fun. She's like, they actually enjoy that place? That's really weird. And then she's like, Krim, what did you make? And Krim, being the angel, was like, I'm sorry, I can't lie to you. And there's just that sudden moment of silence. And then Maidry figures it out. And then she fucking kicks their asses. I laughed so fucking hard. that
pretty good.
whole time. She's like it's not even said, but you see her connect the dots, and she's just like, "You made me."
Yeah.
And God damn, dude. And the thing is, in the manga, it's like they go outside the building and like, she's kicking their asses, but in the anime, like, they show her physically assaulting all of them.
Good.
Like, she's got like the claws in her fucking Stunk's head at one point. She's fucking got Zell smashed against the wall, like, just everything. I'm like, that's not in the manga. Like, that's just some of the stuff they did to like extend the scene, which is amazing because, like I said, I laughed the entire fucking time.
By the way,
it was so funny.
I expected this out of those three assholes, but Krim did it too. I was surprised that Krim went through with this at the brothel. I was like, really, Krim? Come on, losing some respect for you here.
Krim's like, hey, a little side of me always wondered.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I know. So it was interesting. But yeah, so after the butt whooping they take, there's a small little second one. I didn't think it was that great, but basically it's like will-o'-the-wisps, which to me is a little odd. They're basically like creatures that have these like light things that are attracted to them. I was like, what in the world? Like, I don't remember a lot of like stuff on these. Like traditionally.
Yeah, I mean, like, all I know is like that video game coming out, Ori and the Will-o'-the-Wisps. Like, yeah, it's just, yeah, they're what in folklore, Will-o'-the-Wisps are an atmospheric ghost light seen by travelers at night, according to Wikipedia. So I don't know. They're probably fireflies.
Probably, which I mean would be a problem if it was a brothel full of like insect-sized things. But luckily, they just seem attracted to these like actual women. I don't know. So they barely cover like with the light, like they're
typical anime steam thing. Yeah.
It's basically steam but with light.
Basically, when I watched this, I was like, oh, so this is Kat's typical weekends. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. That's pretty accurate. I mean, minus the light thing. Yeah. But yeah, people just walk in, it's like, oh, hey, how are you doing? Like, can't move right now. Like, but yeah. So, I don't know. Like, I guess the idea is that these women are supposed to be kind of dumb or something as a species because they're like, yeah, they're kind of airheaded, da, 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 da. And I'm just like, what? Like just because they like group stuff, they're airheaded? Like I don't know. That's a little unfair.
Maybe it's more focused on like the wispiness of their nature that they're a little airheaded. I don't know, but
maybe. But all of them pretty much rate it like kind of low, like not super low, but kind of low just because of the group thing, and none of them are interested in it.
They were weird because like you're naked next to me also. I just don't know how to feel about that.
Well, and people like walk in like like when you're in the middle or whatever, you know what I mean? And I guess I get that. It's like a weird thing. But I don't know. Like I did see the point where they were charging them more money. Because it was like by the like half hour or something, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So that makes more sense. It's like kind of not fair. And then they kind of point out that certain races like it more than others. It's just like a preference thing. It's very niche. That was interesting. I don't know. It's niche in real life too, maybe.
Yeah.
There's definitely people I meet up with who are like, no, not the group thing. But maybe later.
Maybe later.
So maybe there's some truth to that. I don't know. Once again, just kind of a blandish episode. Not as fun as like the meat episode with the lava creatures.
Oh, the salamander girl?
Yeah, that was probably my favorite so far.
That was pretty fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was pretty awesome.
As far as visiting ones, I think that one would be a really fun one. Just to eat the meat off of her.
Yeah.
I see that Bcom and I have a little bit of disagreement in the ED.
I saw this ED and I was like, this looks and sounds like shit.
I thought it was interesting because it's a change up and that like they literally had the light parade.
Yeah.
And like it's
Oh,
just
I know.
all
I
the
loved
girls being covered by the lights. And I was like, this is kind of cute. I kind of think that's neat. And the music didn't bother me. It was just kind of like one of those where like you point your finger in there and you go doo 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 doo.
Yeah, basically, yeah. I think it's a cute concept. I just like there was very little animation and the music was like kind of annoying a little bit, and so I was like, I don't like this. But yeah, I can see what you're saying though. Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. You want to hash out these mid-season cuts?
All right,
Yeah,
sure.
I'm excited.
All right, I had a pretty good chance over the past like few weeks to catch up with a bunch of stuff that we haven't been watching.
And Kat and I did not catch up on anything.
Well, I can report back to you guys then on a bunch of different things that are still ongoing.
Oh,
Okay, I was curious on 22/7 because I almost was pretty interested in covering that.
Yeah, so, okay, 22/7 has continued to be pretty good on a weekly basis, but it's been a little bit hit or miss because, okay, so each episode has been starting to focus on one specific girl at a time, kind of, with like a backstory and like stuff that they're doing in the current
well,
like,
that's
time.
pretty. That's pretty much how it
normal.
usually works.
Typical for
yeah.
an idol show, right? It's just like, so like one of the episodes though it was centered around the red-haired girl, and they go to this beach photo shoot, and she feels really uncomfortable getting into a bikini for a photo shoot. And the entire episode consists of like the other girls basically in various ways trying to convince her to get in a damn bikini. Again,
That's a real thing, though.
yeah,
like,
it is. It just felt like a little bit, manipulative or something, or like a little bit dark, kind of.
maybe.
But I really, really liked. I watched all the way through. I think I'm up to episode 8 now, but episode 7 I really loved. It's the one that centers around Jun Toda, who she's the girl, in the first episode who like starts yelling at the guy thinking he's a gorilla, like the really kind of cute, weird one.
I hate that one.
Okay, but she gets a great episode where the entire rest of the group, for reasons I won't spoil, are like out of commission for a period of time. And so she has to do like everything that the group would do in their place.
Okay, but like, do they talk about the weird wall of death again?
Yeah.
Do they tell you more about the wall of death?
No.
Why do you call it the wall of death? It's just a wall that speaks.
It just looks very intimidating. It looks like eventually it's going to be like, and now I decree this one will die. Like, it doesn't seem like happy, happy, joy, joy wall, okay?
To be honest, the wall's like decrees, which it still keeps giving decrees. The wall's decrees have been pretty like straightforward. It's like, oh, perform in an idol show in front of a bunch of people, like do this radio show or something. It's been kind of boring, honestly. The wall has sort of receded a little bit, and it's not as cool as it once was. So I hope the wall does some more crazy shit soon. It do one thing that was kind of nuts, but yeah, I don't want to spoil that for people, but like it's not what you want, Kat, exactly, is how I would say. It's
Okay,
not as
'cause I was
interesting and
excited.
diabolical as you would like it to be.
Yeah, it would have done better to do a better balance of the two. Like, actually have it be kind of an idol show, but also be slightly diabolical. Kind of like the zombie idol show we watched.
Oh yeah, it's
Zombieland Saga.
Yeah.
Yeah, although I really would have preferred even that show to be slightly more
Hey,
diabolical.
it's got a season 2 coming, so
Yeah.
I know.
Excited about that. That should be fun.
Excited.
So yeah, it's good. It's not great. It's pretty good. It's one of my favorite things that I'm watching outside of the podcast this season. It's enjoyable enough, at least. Yeah, that episode with Jun was really good. So Asteroid in Love, I've kept watching, but I don't know why. It is.
Yeah, I really don't know why.
Well, I thought I really did have a great first episode. Like, there was some amazing animation in that first episode, and Doga Koba are known for their great character animation. But this show is just blowing it on the story side of things, because, like, I am really interested in astronomy, and this show makes me, like, just want to fall asleep whenever I'm watching it, and they're talking about stars, and it's like, it's really boring. It's turned into a very generic, like, girls' club show. There's, like, points at which it has, like, some merit to it, and then it's a little bit more fun, but for the most part, it's just been really boring. Like, I don't think I need to say anything else about it. My Hero Academia Season 4 has been kind of interesting since the overhaul arc ended. It's sort of just been treading water and doing goofy shit, which has been kind of fun. Like, there's an episode where Todoroki and Bakugo go to get their provisional hero license together. And because they're both assholes, their test is basically to babysit a class of elementary schoolers. To show that they have
superpowers.
Yeah, that have superpowers and like immediately turn on them, and they fight. But it's pretty great. It was interesting how the next generation of people with quirks continue to get stronger and stronger with each generation out. So like there's something that's looked at like the big quirk singularity might happen, where quirks will be impossible to control and will just destroy the universe or something. So they're trying to make that not happen. They also introduced this very goofy new villain named Gentle Criminal and his little girl sidekick, Brava.
Oh my god, I totally forgot about them. Dude.
Yeah.
They're literally a blip on the screen. There's nothing after.
Oh, really? Because they seem
thing.
like they're a blip. Like, he does not seem like a long-lasting character.
No, they completely disappear up to this point in the time in the manga.
He's just like this tea-drinking, eccentric dude who records like YouTube videos of his small-time crimes, and he's trying to get more recognition, become more infamous, so he's going to target UA High School and try to make a bigger name for himself, but I don't think he's going to do very well. Anyway, so that's what's happening with Season 4. In Spectre, I had a chance to finally catch on this one today. This is the ultimate tell and don't show anime, which I don't like.
No, that's such a bad thing to do.
Yeah, there's a lot of things about this show that kind of irk me. Like, the show drags on a lot with monologuing conversations by the two main girls. They introduced another girl. This is the main guy's ex-girlfriend from the hospital in the first episode. She's a police officer now. Yeah. She's a police officer, and she gets wrapped up in a case where there is a spirit of a girl who carries around like a steel beam and starts like trying to attack people. And like she drove a car off the road, and so her office got the notice of that, of course. And so, yeah, like basically she gets wrapped up with the main girl, the little lolly wisdom girl.
The only thing I see that people like about this show is that there's a younger girl that's panning hardcore for the main character, and people insert themselves as the main character.
Yeah.
And pretend that the main girl is just like going so hardcore for them. That's the only thing I see that is appealing, that people think are appealing. I don't, but I think that's what other people are.
Yeah, and the other thing I don't like is because like the main girl and the ex-girlfriend kind of just like catfight over the guy a little bit in the more episodes I watched. I watched through episode 6, and like whenever they talk, they're mostly talking about like Jin and like how like, you know, the little girl wants Jin to recognize her.
His name's Jin too?
Wait, no, it's not Jin. You're right.
So basically you're saying that this show doesn't pass the Bechdel test?
It does not pass the fucking Bechdel test at all. It's
yes.
It's Kuro. Sorry, Kuro. Yeah. God,
Kuro,
Jin.
you're calling him Jin. I'm like, what's Jin's house?
Everybody's Jin to me now. Yeah. The police officer girl's Saki. Right. Okay. So anyway, it's just gotten kind of annoying. But yeah, the biggest part for me is just like the monologues about the cases just really drag, and there's not enough visually to stand out and make those like flashbacks enjoyable when like Tokoto is like explaining what she believes happened, because she's always like theorizing like a Sherlock Holmes would, putting things together from the scraps of information, but like they don't do enough visually to really tie that all together and make it an interesting show. So yeah. All right.
Okay.
The one I have the most to talk about, very surprisingly, is if my favorite pop idol made it to the Budokan, I would die.
I thought it would be Smile Down the Runway. That does surprise me.
I have something to say about that. That's like the last show I'm going to talk about. But I think the show I find myself enjoying the most as I watch it is Budokan. And I don't think it's particularly great. It's just really cute at times, because like it's Mina and Aripio's like little internal romance that they won't ever say out loud has become increasingly cuter and cuter each week as they like like Arapio like supports her in ways that are not just like buying her CDs. Like they both sort of watch each other and see how they're feeling and see what they're going through. And it's cute that they care about each other a lot. The only problem with this is that like Mina is like very much in a way taking advantage of Arapio. Like Arapio is like 100% working herself to the bone to buy CDs so that Mina can become more popular in the popularity contest that the like idol group runs for themselves. There's an episode where Arapio breaks her leg. She gets like hit by a wild boar, and this was after like working late at the food factory to get enough money to buy shit for Mina, or buy her merch, you know? And so now she's hobbling around on crutches to idol events and making jokes about how she's going to sell her organs to continue buying merch for Mina. And it's just like all of her spare income is going to this person. And I have to wonder from like the idol's perspectives, like, do you feel guilty at this point? Like, you're like ruining these people's lives. You're sucking them dry. Like, shouldn't it be incumbent on you at some point to tell them, like, please stop. Like, please take care of yourself before you take care of me. Like, I'm not that important. It's a really unhealthy relationship. But the other thing,
it really is.
Yeah, it's super fucked up. The other thing that's been cute is that some of the idols in the group have been paired off with each other. Maki and Yumeri especially are really cute, and they have like a very canon relationship with one another, which is nice.
Yeah, it's almost like, oh no, we're dating.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like they're very much like it's like very clear. Yeah. Sorane and Reo, who are sort of the leaders of the group, they have a more professional relationship where they like look out for each other and like really respect each other a lot, which I liked a lot. I like that the show took the time to make some of the other idol girls into real characters and not just focus on Mina and like have the others be like really annoying. Oh, there was another weird thing. So one of the other otaku guys, Motoi, has a little sister who looks exactly like Sorane from the group, who happens to be his dream idol, which they joke about with him a little bit, where it's like, is that why you like the idol so much? Because she looks like your sister? It's a little weird, bro. There's even a joke where like Sorane gets decreased popularity in the group because she supposedly gets spotted out walking with a boyfriend. And what it ends up being is that this guy was spotted walking with his little sister who looks exactly like Sorane. And he finds out about this, and he doesn't make it public because he likes that Sorane has gotten decreased popularity, because then like he's like one of her only big fans now. And it's really sad because like she plummets in the group popularity ranking. She gets moved to like the back line of the group, and she's like really sad on stage, and only then does he realize like, oh, I'm like really doing a bad thing here. Like he's kind of a selfish asshole, and I'm glad that like he at least saw that he's being an asshole, but it was messed up.
Yeah, it was weird.
So yeah, I don't know. The show is a big mix of like really cute stuff and really fucked up idol fan dynamics, which makes it interesting to watch, basically. So I've been enjoying it. Okay, a couple more shows. Isekai Quartet is still terrible.
Oh god,
Is that all? I mean, do we need to?
don't drag this out.
Can I just tell you the best joke that they told in the entire season? Megumin is going to get an eye exam, and she has an eye patch, if you all remember Megumin, and she covers her non-eye patch eye for the eye exam so she can't see.
I mean, did we need confirmation that this is a terrible show? I don't think we did.
I just wanted to shit on it one time.
Okay.
Hurry up.
Nekopara is surprisingly good. Like, Nekopara week in, week out is some of the most entertaining stuff I'm watching this season. It's still stupid and looting the cat girls, but it doesn't go overboard with it. I don't think it's not as bad as the video game anyway. It's like, doesn't go anywhere near.
I was going to say, are you talking about the show based off a hentai video game?
Yeah, but it's not like the video game almost at all. Like, they do lewd jokes, but it's not anywhere near as messed up as the video game.
So it's like the opposite of Ishizuka Reviewers.
Yeah, they've definitely toned it down. It's less toned down than the OVA was, but it's still in a place where it's like very acceptable. Like, it's nothing like Ishizoku Reviewers or anything like that. Like, yeah, I don't know. So that's been fun to watch. Science Fell in Love. Yeah, that one's still not great. There's like some pretty decent jokes along the way, but for the most part, it has its cute moments, but I just don't find it very interesting. Same review basically as the beginning of the season. Okay, finally, Smile Down the Runway. Okay, so through 6 episodes, the show isn't like significantly different, but they've introduced some new characters. Ikuto is still working really hard to become a fashion designer. He's definitely like the main character of the show now. Chiyuki still shows up and like helps him and gives him advice, which is really nice. They have a good relationship with each other, like helping each other out, but it's very much focused on him at this point. Most of the people around him are kind of assholes, but that also makes sense because it's the fashion industry. Like, it kind of breeds assholes. But yeah, he's at this school and he's like trying to become a designer and he's like making a dress. And some of the students there kind of like dislike him at first, but he wins them over by being really kind, which is nice. There is definitely some drama surrounding Ikuto's family. His mother is sick and in the hospital. And his sister is like really on edge about like the family's money situation. Like she wants to be the one who's like taking care of him. And he's like bringing home money from his new job. And she gets really angry at first, thinking that like he's working on part-time jobs and not following his dream when he's actually doing the opposite. He is following his dream and he's now just starting to get paid for it. But yeah, his sister and him have like a little bit of a weird relationship. And the mother clearly seems like she's going downhill in the hospital a little bit, so that's going to be a thing. There was also a part in episode 5 where they looted the hell out of Chiyuki. Ikuto comes over her apartment to get some advice about this model he has to design a dress for, and they show her doing splits in like really tight shorts, and they like really get the camera up her butt and then down her shirt. Like, it is very much the lewdest thing in this show by far, which was interesting. I don't know. That felt a little bit over the top, but maybe they felt the need to sex up Chiyuki for whatever reason. But yeah, besides that, they added another model who's like really tall, but she also wants to be a designer. Like she wants to transition from being a new up and coming model to being designer, even though she would be perfect as a model. Basically, she was inspired when a really famous fashion designer kind of calmed her nerves before a runway, like telling her, like, just focus on like how my dress carries you, like focus on my clothing, and that'll tell you how to walk down the stage. You don't have to worry about it. Like, I'm going to be guiding you through the clothing. And she was like, man, that was so cool. That makes me want to become a designer myself so I can like help people like that or help models out. So it's kind of nice. She's like a nice girl. But yeah, Ikuto's just like continuously like learning and just building up relationships with people around him. And there's also this guy who is going to start his own fashion brand. He's the son of the woman who I was just saying, who like inspired that other model to become a designer. So he's the son of a designer himself, but he wants to branch out and he wants Ikuto to come with him and work at his new brand. So that's a decision that Ikuto has to make now after episode 6. So yeah, it's a pretty good show still so far, I would say. Yeah,
I think that sounds like the best next one, really.
Yeah, like for me, I really like that. I guess Budokan and 22/7. I have not had a chance to keep up with Maji or Record. I watched like 4 episodes and I was like, I really don't like this.
Interesting.
I did watch the 4th episode of Somali Forest or whatever, and it was it's still the same show.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just like even if we picked it up, even if we thought it was a great show, it's like we have like maybe at the most 10 minutes to talk about it. There's not much really
say.
happens.
Yeah.
I am also still caught up on Black Clover. Unfortunately, the latest episode was like the elf's backstory, which I haven't even watched because I fucking hate backstories. But they finished for mostly the elf arc, so there's that for that one.
Okay.
Well, I'm really interested in keeping watching Pet. I just haven't had time, like, the last few weeks to catch up to it. But I like it as a show a lot, and it seems to be rated very well right now. Also, I think Smile Down the Runway is probably the highest rated show that we aren't covering.
Yeah, probably.
It beats out Somali.
Oh, actually, no. Somali might be higher rated than it technically.
I don't know. I think it depends on what review you're on, but
Yeah, probably.
but yeah, those are the kind of the few, I guess, the top 3 that would be considered.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, so what do you guys think then? Is there anything that you want to drop, or is there anything that you're not enjoying, or what do you guys think?
I want you to drop your show.
I think we both do, but I don't think it's gonna happen.
No, it's not going to happen. Yeah, I don't think anybody's dropping anything. I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Yeah, I mean,
I don't think you guys are gonna drop Dorohedoro. I've never loved it, but I don't hate it, so it's fine.
I will say that Seton Academy has definitely grown on me. I think it's a pretty good comedy show.
I didn't expect to like as much as I do now.
Yeah.
I will say that about it. I picked it because I thought it was entertaining, but now that we're on to episode 6, I'm I actually really am entertained by this show and definitely want to keep following it. And I think we have a fun time definitely discussing it. So
we have a fun time fighting over things, and that's worth it to me. I will say I don't have an issue with BOFURI as a show in general, but I find that it doesn't produce a lot of conversation.
Yeah, I will say it is one of the most popular shows of the season, though. It's also also I guess Eizouken is selling a ton of Blu-rays in Japan too. That's a big hit, but also BOFURI is. So I'm
sure it's a big hit. I'm just saying it objectively as things that are enjoyable to talk about.
Yeah, for sure.
It's not. Yeah.
Well, BOFURI, I'm a little ahead on that one, and I know it has some good episodes coming up, so that's exciting at least. So I think it's fair to say we should keep it.
Yeah, I'm only one more episode ahead on that one.
I think it was episode 8. That's great.
I'm not vehemently oh no, we can't do this. I'm just this is things I'm pointing out. Yeah.
And yeah, It Invaded has been really solid. Yeah.
It's been interesting. Yeah. There's times where it's a little bit too much, and everyone in this show apparently has holes in their heads. Okay. Stuff like that. But in general, it's entertaining and interesting.
Actually, Kat has a hole in her head. We just didn't know it.
Oh.
Is there anything else you guys would like to add before we close this out?
No, I think that's it. So I guess we're staying pat this season, which is fine. I mean, we made pretty good choices.
This isn't a really crazy high season either.
Wait till next season.
Doesn't have a lot of the next season looks a lot heavier.
Yeah.
So I think that next season we may see some mix-ups in the middle. That's usually how it goes, is the more contentious a season, the more chance that we're going to switch something out.
Yeah. By the way, you guys should start watching Oregairu.
Start what?
You should start watching My Teenage Love Com Snafu seasons 1 and 2.
Oh shit!
You're gonna have to type it in our Discord, in our private one, and all.
Oh, I already did that a week and a half ago. Now
do it again, because I have to actually add it to my queue
publicly. Okay.
You have to add it to. I have to add it to my queue. So do it again.
Okay.
I think I watched the first 2 episodes and just never watched anything more because it was just meh.
Yeah.
Well.
Okay.
We'll see.
All right, is that it? Is that it, you two? Got anything else you would like to add?
I'm good.
No, I think we're good.
All right. We thank everybody for listening. Remember to follow, and subscribe on YouTube to get updates on new podcasts or videos. You can also find our podcast on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, and Stitcher, and follow us on Twitter at Nerdom and Other for updates as well. Definitely come to our Discord. Talk to Bcom and I. Cat acts like a cat. She hides under the desk. Meow. She never talks to anybody on there. But
maybe I'll get better if more of you come.
But Bcom and I will definitely talk to you. And with all that, we will see you next time.
See you
later.
Bye.